Everyone, and welcome to today's Daily Word. Glad you could join me for our time together. I'm sorry that I'm 15 minutes late. The elevator inspector was here today from the state, and so we had to go through all of that process. Elevator's good, however, so that's a good thing, and we're good for another year. But I'm late because of that this morning. So we are in this last week. We are headed towards Christmas. Lots to do, lots to accomplish, lots to get ready for all of us as we prepare for this glorious holiday. Hope you'll join us on Saturday for Christmas Eve, 7:30 and 11 o'clock. Services will be a little similar. The early service has the choir, the late service does not. So we'll do some different things. The sermons will be different, however, so if you want to come both times, there will be a different sermon. One on Isaiah and one on Luke. So you can join us for that. And we'll, of course, live stream those. So hopefully you'll join us. It's going to be cold, so come early. We're going to have the coffee ready to warm you up. We'll have some hot water for hot chocolate or tea, just to prepare us, because it's going to be cold when you arrive on Saturday night. Reminder, there is not church Sunday, December 25th and Sunday, January 1st. We'll gather again on January 8th. And just a precursor, there will not be a daily word until January 2nd, probably. So we're going to take a break from that. I'm looking forward to this couple of week break. So our scripture for this morning comes from our scripture from yesterday, actually. A little different version, but the same words from Joseph, Matthew 1, 19 through 24. Joseph, being a righteous man and unwilling to expose Mary to public disgrace, planned to dismiss her quietly. But just when he had resolved to do this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream. When Joseph awoke from sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. Now, I have to tell you, I've really never been a person who dreams. I don't dream. I don't know if I don't sleep deep enough or what that is, but I really don't dream. And when people tell me they have these dreams, frankly, I've never put much stock in a dream, that the dream was the message of what you were supposed to do. I've never given much credence to that, in my life. But here we are. We hear this miraculous thing happen. Now, Joseph hears from Mary that she's pregnant. But Joseph knows that he's not been with her in that way. And it couldn't possibly be his child. And you could imagine the thoughts that are running through his mind about what really happened and the consequences of all of this. And we said yesterday, in worship, by all accounts, Joseph could have just dismissed her, put her out, publicly disgraced her, pushed her to the sides of society. But he chose not to do that. I said yesterday because, in my mind, because he loved her. He chose not to do that. And instead, he chose to just dismiss her quietly, as this text says. But God, through an angel, appears to him in a dream, and Joseph does what the angel says, takes Mary as his wife. This is an amazing story for us of what it means to be faithful, of what it means to be loving and kind and generous. The writer of today's devotional in my book says this: if somebody, an angel or not, appears to you in a dream and says, "You're doing a great job being kind, now be even kinder," you should do it. If a mysterious stranger reveals themselves in a dream and says, "Listen, what you're about to do is perfectly legal and right, but you have all the power, so what I want you to do is to be merciful and gentle and forgiving instead," you probably ought to listen. In this season, we talked about it yesterday and last night at our Blue Christmas service in this season where it's a challenge to be loving because there's so much going on and we're taxed, we're demanded of our attention, our time, our dollars, all the things that we're supposed to do. That includes the normal stuff, right? Like going to work and all the things we have to do in basketball games and for me and for others, funerals in the midst of this week. What we're really called to do in this season is to really be like Joseph. Joseph, who often gets pushed aside in this story. We talk a lot about Mary and, of course, Jesus. Then we talk about the shepherds and the wise men and all of that. Joseph really gets pushed to the side, but what Joseph does is remarkable. He chooses to listen to the angel, to God. He chooses to love. He chooses to put aside what might wreck his career as a carpenter in town to take Mary as his wife. We know the rest of the story, right? They make their way. There's no room in the inn. The baby's born outdoors in a cattle stall, if you will. And then they're warned by an angel again to flee, and so they flee to Egypt. I mean, think of what Joseph did here. He was kind. He was loving. He was obedient to God. He listened to what God had to say in his life. And I think for us in this season and in all of our lives, we really are called to obedience. We really are called to be forgiving. We really are called to be more loving and more gracious and more kind. We really are called, to be more like Joseph. And so I pray that in these days, in this season, in what God is calling us to, that we'll be kind and loving and gracious and forgiving, that we'll be hopeful, that we'll listen for God and obey what God would say to us. And then to live our lives like that, not just in this season, but through the whole of our lives. Might we do that with grace as we live. So thanks for joining me today. Thanks for being with me in this final week as we head towards Christmas Eve. Know of God's love that surrounds you and know of my love for you. And I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.